Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and thanks a lot for subscribing to my channel and for your likes and comments. So today we are going to learn about Laravel API authentication using Sanctum package. So in Laravel 10, by default the Laravel Sanctum comes pre-installed. We only have to go to our app, HTTP kernel, and down here inside API we have to uncomment this. After that we just need to run our migration php artisan migrate. So let's create our database first. So our database is created. As you can see, it created user table, personal access token and reset tokens table. So let's use this database, and we have to also create one controller for it. For that we will make type php artisan make controller and the controller name. I will name it auth controller. Hit enter. So our controller is also done, and now let's go to our controller. In here let's create our first method, which is register. To do that I will write here public function and our first method, which is register. For that let's create a form request by typing php artisan make request and the name of our request, which I will name auth request. So the request has been created. Now let's change this to true. Now inside here our column names, which is name, and inside array first thing it's required and it should be string, and also the max character should be 255. Let's do same thing for email. I will type email. It should be required and the type is email, and in the end I will say it should be unique based on users table. So I don't need these. Now let's create the password validation. Here let's type password array. It should be also required and it should be a string, and we will write the rules for password. I will write, and I will import this class which have rules, validation rules. So I will hit enter. Here I will say the minimum character for this should be 8. It should have mixed character, mixed case, which mean uppercase and lowercase, and it should also contain numbers, and it should also contain symbols. So up to here it's done. Now we will we also want that the user should confirm his password, which means he has to write his password 2 times. So let's write here confirm also. So our validation is done. Let's import it into our auth controller. In here I will just write auth request and $sign request. Now let's create our user. User is equal to new user model, and we want user name should be equal to what we get from the request, and also email should be what we get from the request. Now the important part, that we don't want to save the password as we get from the request. We have to create an hash for that. So let's see how we can create hash for our password. So I will write here user password equal to hash, and in here we have to import a class which will be this one. If you guys can see, let me show you guys also here this class. If your editor IDE does not import automatically, so you guys have to import this manually. Now in here let's type make. Now after that we have to say request dash password, and also let's save it. So our creating user is finished. Now we want to return back create a token for our user, so the user could use it to continue their work. So let's see how we can create a token for that. So I will say here token is equal to user create token, and I will give it a name, for example testing, and create it as a plain text token. So now it's done. Now let's return our token and users. To do that we will write return response dash JSON, and I will make an array for that. I will say here a user. I want to return the user and also the token, so I will write here token and $token. So this is our register method. This is the way we create our register method. First we create the validation, then the user, after that the token, then we will return the token to the user. So now let's test it in the Postman. So before testing on the Postman, let's create the API for this. Let's copy our method name and go to routes folder api.php. In here I will write route post, which is our method type, and register. In here I will call auth controller and my method name. So the API is ready. Now let's go to Postman. Let's run our project php artisan serve. Let's copy this link and add it in the Postman /API and our API name, which was register. So in the header I have to write accept application to the return type, that the data that we get in the return, it's a JSON. So in the body form data I will write my field names. The first one is name. I will write the name as an test, then email, this should be test@test.com. the password would be abcd@123.com, and password confirmation, this should be same as password. Now let's change this to post and press the send button. So as you guys can see, our user is created and we have received the user object with the token. So this is the way we create a new user with the help of Sanctum. So let's create our login API, route post login and auth controller. login method. Now let's go to our auth controller here and type our method public function login. Before writing this method, let's create our form request for this. So I'm opening a new terminal and I will write php artisan make request and login request. So here it's created. Let's copy everything from our auth request to login request and change this to true, and in here let's paste it. We don't need name, we don't need the user to check here that it should be unique, and also we don't need the confirm password. So let's import the class, use the password class also in here. Okay, so now let's go back in our and in our auth controller. Now let's write our method. Let's say let's import our login request $request, and in here we are going to write user, our user model, and I will search for the email with the email that we get from the request, and I will bring the first record. So now let's create a condition in here to check for the username and password, that if they are matched then create a token, otherwise it should fail. So let's write the condition. So first of all I will say if the user is not available with this user, if it's empty or null, or if it's not, then I will create another condition here, then check for the hash of the request dash password with the hash of the user password. So if this condition equals to true, or this condition equals to true, which means if the user is not found in our database, or if it found and the password does not match with the user password, then in here we are going to return a message to the user. So let's write return response JSON, and the message should be wrong user name or password. So okay, let's fix this. Now if user is also available and passwords also match, we have to create a token for it. To create a token, we will write token is equal to user create token, and then name, same thing as we wrote up here. Let's copy this and let's replace it. Now let's return the token response JSON and $token with the code of 200. So this is our code for the login. First of all, we check for the email address. If then we write the condition that if the user is empty or not found, or if it's found, check for the passwords, the password that we get from the request with the password of the users. If one of them are not correct, then return this message, otherwise create a token and return the token. So now let's go into our Postman and check this. So I will copy this one and I will open Postman, just replace here. So I don't need confirm password in here, I don't need name, so only email and password. So let's press the send button. So we got our token, so our login is working. Now let's create a new model. For example, I will create a new model with migration to just make a test request, to just make a post request, so you guys can learn how can we use our Laravel Sanctum API token to create, read and update or delete. So PHP artisan make model, and my model name, let's say dummy data with model and with migration and controller. Let's hit enter. So it's ready. Now in here we have to create our method. So I will write the public function add data. I will just make it as simple as possible. For example, I will say $sign items is equal to new dummy data, and I will say items dash name is equal to $sign request, what we get from the request, and items save. So let's add this column also in our database, this new in here. Okay, let's run migration, PHP artisan migrate. So this is ready, this is ready. Now let's create a API. I will remove this and I will write route middleware, and inside array I will write auth sanctum, and in here I will add all of them in the group. Inside the group I will write function, and in here I am going to write my URL for posting data. Let's say route post add data, and my controller, which was dummy controller. Inside that I will copy my method name here, class, and so our this API is protected by auth sanctum. So until and unless if the user don't have the API key, they cannot post any data. So now let's go to our postman and add as single data to our dummy data controller. Let's return something here so we can see if it's added or not. Let's say return response JSON added successfully and with 200 code. So now let's move to our postman. So in here first of all we have to copy this string and go to authorization. Here select barrier token and paste it here. So it's done. Now let's go back to body and change our URL with this, and add the name. Let's say test data. Send. Added successfully. Now let's check our database. So it was Laravel tables. Let's refresh. Dummy data and select. So it's been added. So now let's go back to postman, and in here let's remove this token. Press the save button. So we get unauthenticated, and if we paste it back, press the send button, added successfully. So all those APIs which are under this group, under Auth Sanctum group, they are protected with Auth Sanctum. So until the user don't have the token, they will not be allowed to post data or get or delete or do any action which is inside this group. Thanks a lot. Hope you like the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and see you guys in the next video.